Here is why. Let me explain why this is all happening. The left, not only, they never expected Donald Trump to win. They never thought he'd be this successful. He is a threat to everything wrong about them. His success is the left's worst nightmare. In other words, they need Donald Trump to fail if the Democrats ever want to regain power. Well, that one's their power they're hoping for. They have to pray for failure. That means you fail. That means America fails. That means the forgotten men and women will continue to be forgotten. You know, Bill Maher, probably the only honest one, he's hoping for a recession. Really? Doesn't affect him. Now, here we are, 1.5 years into the presidency of Donald Trump. What do we see? In 500 days, the economy's booming. Record unemployment rates in 14 states. We have more jobs than people on unemployment. We have literally the lowest unemployment ever recorded for African Americans, Hispanic Americans, women in the workplace. We have the highest GDP growth in over a decade. We have the lowest tax cuts, the biggest tax cut we've ever had. We've had a demolishing of burdensome regulations. We had successful negotiations so far that are ongoing with North Korea. ISIS is defeated and on the run. The Iranian stupid deal of Obama's dead. Jerusalem, promised by so many presidents, is now the capital of Israel, and so much more. With each success, the Democrats' dreams of kicking Trump out of office becomes more faint and more remote, and now they feel it, and they're lashing out. They don't like his success. That's why it's getting louder and more insane by the day. And the left is actually now targeting those who actually work and support President Trump. Look at this. New Jersey so-called Senator, President wannabe Cory Booker, is calling for Americans to confront Trump officials. Look at Maxine Waters. Well, she's been calling for Trump's impeachment since almost his first day in office. Well, Maxine Waters is urging supporters to accost Trump allies wherever they go. This is dangerous. Watch.
You have members of your cabinet that are being booed out of restaurants, who have protesters taking up at their house, who's saying no peace, no sleep. And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
Now, naturally, those associated with President Trump, they're now being targeted by America's viciously angry left wing all over the country. They're doing it to women and children. Now, listen to what happened to Florida Attorney General. She'll join us in just a few minutes, Pam Bondi, this weekend as she goes to see the Mr. Rogers movie. Take a look.
3 huge guys came up and started probably an inch from my face, screaming at me every word in the book, cursing as loud as they could. So then my trooper came up, and my boyfriend and I got our tickets, we're headed in, and then they ran in and circled me where I could not get into the theater. They stopped me. So he came up then and stopped them. So then we went in the theater, thought it was diffused. We're up getting popcorn at the concession stand, and they came up again, just every curse word in the book. And they're this far from my face. One spit on my head. Now, I can't say that was intentional because he was yelling so loud. I don't know if it was just him spewing out of his mouth.
Picking on women and children. Now, the Attorney General will be here in a few moments. She'll give us more details on that. And she's only the latest Trump ally to be targeted. White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders was literally thrown out of this weekend, in a restaurant in Lexington, Virginia, named the Red Hand. Take a look.
Many by now have heard that I was asked to leave a restaurant this weekend where I attempted to have dinner with my family. My husband and I politely left and went home. I was asked to leave because I work for President Trump. We are allowed to disagree, but we should be able to do so freely and without fear of harm. And this goes for all people, regardless of politics. Some have chosen to push hate and vandalism against the restaurant that I was asked to leave from. A Hollywood actor publicly encouraged people to kidnap my children. And this weekend, a member of Congress called for people to push back and make clear to those serving their country in this administration that they are not welcome anywhere, anytime, for anything. Healthy debate on ideas and political philosophy is important, but the calls for harassment and push for any Trump supporter to avoid the public is unacceptable.
Again, threatening women and children. What is wrong with you people on the left? And according to Sanders' father, former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee, the harassment did not end there. Listen to what he says.
Once Sarah and her family left, and of course Sarah was asked to please vacate, Sarah and her husband just went home. They had sort of had enough. But the rest of her family went across the street to a different restaurant. The owner of the Red Hen, because nobody's told this, then followed them across the street, called people, and organized a protest, yelling and screaming at them from outside the other restaurant and creating this scene.
Now, following this incident, the president tweeted out, quote, "The Red Hen restaurant should focus more on cleaning its filthy canopies, doors, and windows, badly needs a paint job, rather than refusing to serve a fine person like Sarah Huckabee Sanders. I always had a rule. If a restaurant is dirty on the outside, it's dirty on the inside." But what is dirty here is dirty political discrimination from the Red Hen, coming just a few days after our DHS Secretary, Kirstjen Nielsen, Secretary Nielsen, run out of a ADC restaurant by a group of other angry left-wing protesters. This is getting out of control. Take a look.
Secretary Nielsen, how dare you spend your evening here eating dinner as you're complicit in the separation and deportation of over 10,000 children separated from their parents.
Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen is in a Mexican restaurant of all places. The goal. Shame on you!
Shame! Shame!
Shame! Shame! Shame!
Shame! Shame! Shame! Shame!
Fascist pig!
And it gets worse. On Friday morning, more protesters surrounded Secretary Nielsen's home, blasting audio recordings of crying children. And as it turns out, no one associated with Donald Trump is now safe from what is now a mob mentality of the left. Not even children are safe, as you just saw with Sarah Huckabee. Last week, we first reported the president's 12-year-old son, the target of a vile attack, just like Secretary Nielsen, on Twitter from Peter Fonda. Yeah, Hanoi Jane's brother. And she tweeted in part, quote, "We should rip Barron Trump from his mother's arms, put him in a cage with pedophiles, and see if the mother will stand up against the giant blob that she's married to." Now, President Trump's 4-year-old granddaughter was also threatened on Twitter by a Canadian writer. Now, both these people, okay, they apologize for these horrific threats. Where are the arrests? You know what? You're not allowed to threaten the first family. What about Madonna? You're thinking an awful lot about blowing up the White House? Secret Service ever talk to her? Where's the compassion of the left? I thought the Democratic Party had a monopoly on love and peace and compassion. Apparently not. Now, of course, you wouldn't know the extent of this vitriol if you only watch the mainstream media. Check this out. In fact, according to a report, Newsbusters, your establishment, corrupt, destroy Trump media in America totally ignored the story about Trump's 4-year-old granddaughter. And while the left's anti-Trump rage is spinning out of control, well, some in the media, as sick as they are actually adding fuel to the fire. They can't control themselves. They've all lost it. Take a